Does Leisure Suit Larry have game? Is Larry Laffer, the down-on-his-sexuality protagonist from the Leisure Suit Larry series, a catch or someone to throw back? Larry's eternal struggle with the act of physical love is a harrowing tale of lust and rejection, but also surprising success, if only temporarily. What is this guy's entire deal? Programmer Al Lowe and others who made the most leisurely adult adventures in the history of video games seem to design Larry around the notion that he is a loser, out of touch, and looking for love in all the wrong places. Larry wears a leisure suit, a style of clothing made popular in California in the 1950s, adopted as the ultrasonic disco uniform in the 1970s, and passing deep into the bin of outmoded fashion by the early 1980s. Leisure Suit Larry in the Land of the Lounge Lizards was released in 1987, years after such a suit would be labeled not only a fashion don't, but a fashion oh please God no. Larry's mere existence answers the question, what if John Travolta from Saturday Night Fever was not cool? Because of the way trends pass by at Mach 5, by the time you are watching this in the year 2024, the new answer to that question is to claim that this is a trick question because John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever was not cool but cheesy. We're talking store-brand Cheese Whiz substitute cheesy, not perfectly timed grilled cheese sandwich with tomato soup cheesy at all. Much like John Travolta, Larry does not simply walk, he struts, with a confidence that far exceeds his level of hotness. Larry dances to the classic Bee Gees song Stayin' Alive during the disco scene. The influence is about as subtle as a hammer to a pane of glass. To finally answer my completely unnecessary, ponderous question, I sat down and played Leisure Suit Larry in the Land of the Lounge Lizards. For the uninitiated, a lounge lizard is a man who frequents social establishments with the sole intention of coitus. The term is over 100 years old, and even by the time of this game it was out of style, much like Larry himself. I first played this game when I was a child. For the life of me, and it is my life, I can't remember whether I was allowed to play this game or simply played this game surreptitiously. In either case, I was not able to progress far because it required another floppy disk to leave the initial location, and I did not possess this mysterious Disk 2 at the time. This is what I remember anyway, but now I own a copy on my PC, so let's get to it. The game begins with a warning. This game was not made for children. Al Lowe's brilliant idea was to draft a series of questions that children could not possibly answer. Pop culture references and historical ephemera that would be far too esoteric for someone under 18. He forgot about one thing: trial and error. Back in the day, I bypassed the questions by memorization and a yellow sticky note. Today, the questions pose a new problem. They are all painfully, excruciatingly outdated. For example, one question asks you to characterize O.J. Simpson, the previously alive football player. A response of under indictment is legitimately incorrect in 1987, correct only in hindsight in 1994, incorrect for several years afterward, correct again in 2007, and now permanently incorrect. Nevertheless, I was able to get through the historical artifact of a test every time. The Control-X or Control-Alt-X trick did not work for some reason. The game proper opens outside a bar called Lefty's. I instructed Larry to walk inside and he dutifully obeyed. And what was inside? Pixels. Pixels the size of a garage door. I had Larry buy some whiskey and give it to an alcoholic in the next room. I'm just doing my part for my community. I had Larry snatch a rose from the table and then used the bathroom. Larry found a diamond ring, finders keepers, and read some graffiti. Bathroom graffiti is the highest of low art. Each scrawled message or picture a mark of history. Larry used the password Ken sent me, no doubt a reference to Ken Williams, one of the programmers of the game. Larry flipped through channels on the television set to distract the pimp standing by the staircase. One channel was airing Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, prompting Larry's disgust. Remember when we pretended to be too cool to like Fred Rogers? This game really is an artifact of a different time. I remember when I was young and immediately had Larry sleep with a sex worker. If I recall correctly, doing this without a condom results in Larry's death. Not this time. I had Larry steal her box of chocolates, climbed out the window, a completely normal thing to do, jumped into a dumpster, and took a hammer for no other reason that it is a pick-upable item in an adventure game, and probably could use it later. An adventure game such as Maniac Mansion has a plethora of items that have no meaningful usage in the game, but can still be carried. That way, the player will not be able to quickly narrow down what to do through simple trial and error. Good idea. Maniac Mansion is my favorite adventure game. By this point early in the game, Larry has had toilet paper stuck to his shoe, garbage and discarded needles all over his body, and the sweet smell of perfume forever embedded in his signature suit. It got me thinking, can you ruin a leisure suit? Or is it already ruined by virtue of being a leisure suit? Is a leisure suit a clearly defined outfit, or is it a style? Because the description of a leisure suit is that it's a suit with a shirt-like jacket and matching pants. Without the visual aid to show the mild difference, that just sounds like a suit to me. Does the polyester make it a leisure suit? If so, does a lack of sophistication imbue the leisure suit with its unique cheesiness? If we remove the pants, is the wearer still wearing a leisure suit? Does the material make the leisure suit, or is it more cultural, more spiritual than that? Does the ease in which the jacket can be removed, tossed onto the floor of a Hollywood motel, make it a leisure suit? Does this implicit sleaziness make it a leisure suit? In simpler terms, is it the cheesiness or is it the sleaziness? How much unprotected sex does one need to perform in order to live up to the standard of the leisure suit? And if you have sex responsibly, have you betrayed the leisure suit? Are you a traitor to your cause? Can you no longer attend the disco, never again to renew your noble quest for flat surfaces? If leisure suits were made popular in Southern California, as well as discos far across this disgusting urine-soaked nation, does that mean that the wearer is not wearing a leisure suit outside of those locations? Is it like that thing, champagne or wine? If it's not made in that one place, it's not technically that one thing. I refuse to look up what I'm talking about. Anyway, I took Larry to a casino to participate in the worst part of the game, the slot machine. In order to make money required to get through this filth, the game forces you to save scum through the slot machine. I am not kidding. It is next to impossible to gamble and win enough cash without doing this. Leisure Suit Larry in the Land of the Lounge Lizards is one of the only games I have ever played that can only be finished by finding a workaround. Armed with money, I had Larry buy an apple from a homeless man who was using a barrel for clothes and possibly a home. Al Lowe did not give this destitute man a name, so I decided to call him Baron von Barrel. It made me feel guilty, as if I had joined the writer's perspective of making fun of the homeless. I hated myself for about 10 seconds, and then renamed him Steve. Look, Steve's just trying to get through the day, but this apple better be worth it. Afterward, I took Larry to the only store in town to buy a condom. In another historical artifact, Larry is forced to buy protection from the clerk behind the counter. I just walk into my local Walgreens or CVS to do this. Pretty sure I can buy them online as well. Poor Larry, he was born too soon. My own adventures in dating were never quite as comical and always featured fewer pimps. I was only interested in serious relationships, but I did have a Craigslist hookup once. I will not reveal any details about it, so you can just use your imagination instead. I will only say that it went exactly as well as one would expect such a hookup to go. No more, no less. Well, maybe a little less. Larry called a survey number and spoke to an operator about his sex life, and these anachronisms exploded my brain into shards of glass. Larry initiated a survey call? Larry is using the phone to talk about sex? Larry is using a pay phone? Larry is calling someone and not texting?
What sorcery is this?
The operator asked Larry, but really me, about my love life. First question was about my partner, but I don't have a partner right now. Second question was worse, but I did my level best. Third question was completely out of line, but I wasn't about to let a programmer from 1987 beat me. After wasting my time on the phone, I wasted my time at the disco. Remember those chocolates, rose, and diamond ring from earlier? I had Larry give them all to a woman named Fawn. I was told that doing this would get her to dance with Larry on the floor, but for some reason the game would not allow me to advance. Larry asked her to dance, she said yes, and then would not dance. I had Larry stand up and dance, but he would not. I sat Larry back down and tried again, and the same thing happened. I even checked a walkthrough to see if I could recombobulate the puzzle. It turns out I needed to ask her to dance and then type dance while still sitting down. Typing dance while standing up, in a position to dance, would not work, nor would typing dance on the dance floor. I may only start dancing while I am low to the ground, like Booker T doing the spinneroonie. Finally, the dancing commenced, and an unlistenable cover of Stayin' Alive began to play. My eardrums cried and begged for the sweet relief of the void. As if seeing my pain from across time, the composer for this game, Mark Siebert, would not relent, punishing me for what I said about his music from Phantasmagoria from a previous video. I will not take back what I said. Okay, it's not Mark's fault. Leisure Suit Larry in the Land of the Lounge Lizards was made for 1980s computers. I love video game music, and I want to give proper respect to the musicians who did their best trying to make sounds come out of these chunky boxes designed for doing your taxes and avoiding your family in the 1980s. The musicians did not invent these boxes, and they were not allowed to reinvent the wheel. They were straightforwardly shown the wheel and told to make it spin. To make it through the game, I played disco hits to put myself and Larry in the mood for hot dancing, hot loving, and hot apples. In a flash, it struck me. I have never actually seen Saturday Night Fever. I saved my game and acquired a totally legal and not pirated copy of this film. I did not care for it. Never before have I so eagerly anticipated the main character to die tragically at the end, and then he has the audacity to survive? 2 out of 8.5 stars. Great soundtrack though. I too enjoy walking to a beat. You ever walk into a supermarket and the track on the loudspeaker is actually good for a change and you strut and shake your way to the deli? No, just me? Okay. Fawn immediately agreed to become the wife of Leisure Suit Larry. Sounds legit. Fawn invited her new husband to the honeymoon suite at the hotel above the casino, but would not go there with him. Sounds super legit. After arriving, Fawn sent Larry on an errand, not to buy wine directly, but to call a phone number for wine delivery instead of just, getting wine. Sounds super duper legit. After Larry took his clothes off, Fawn tied him to the bed and stole his money. This blew my mind hole down my brain tube for 2 reasons. 1, why did Fawn go through all this trouble? Why marry him when Larry clearly would have gone to the hotel room without the wedding ceremony? She and Larry are now married, complicating her life forever. The only man who can give her a divorce is the man she ripped off. How's she gonna get out of this one? Why send Larry on a circuitous wine errand right before she did the deed? The real answer is to pad out this game. But maybe, just maybe, this game could have been made longer by giving Larry more adventures to go on in this adventure game. 2. This is nearly identical to a scene from Seinfeld that aired a few years later. The episode is called The Subway and was written by a man named Larry. Not Larry David or Leisure Suit Larry, but Larry Charles, a third Larry. I can't prove it, but isn't this an urban legend told by insecure men in locker rooms? The sex worker in the game does not have a name and is the only potential sexual partner we don't get to see up close. I don't know much about her, except that she loves chocolates, but also feels so helpless that she will not protest when someone steals her chocolates. That is the saddest sentence I have ever written, and I have written 2.5 eulogies. Does Lefty the bartender know what's going on in the other room? I would assume so, but what does this mean? Does Lefty get a cut of the money from the pimp by the staircase? Is Lefty the actual pimp who presides over the other pimp? The pimp of the nation, if you will? Or is it more like Lefty just has a wacky neighbor, like Kimmy Gibbler? Leisure Suit Larry in the Land of the Lounge Lizards boldly asks the question, why are you asking so many questions? I had Larry steal some pills, and I don't know why. I know why. It's an item in an adventure game, and I knew that I would need this item to progress in the game, but within the narrative of this game, why would Larry do this? Larry had not yet been introduced to the woman who wants the pills in the first place. There was no motivation yet, so it can't be to give them to that woman. What was Larry thinking right before tying a rope around himself, dangerously careening over the edge, smashing a window with a garbage dumpster hammer, and then stealing unmarked pills from a window ledge? So was he just like, hey, check it out, I'm gonna add this to my collection of stolen pill bottles I keep in the trunk of my car? and made Larry give the pills to a woman named Faith. The game implies that they are an aphrodisiac or something worse. I think I need an adult. Finally, Larry maneuvered his way to the top of the casino. He met a woman named Eve, and all it took to get this complete stranger to accept Larry into her private hot tub and later into bed was an apple. Eve loves apples, but that does not make Leisure Suit Larry her Adam. It makes him her serpent. Were the creators suggesting that Leisure Suit Larry had defied the will of God, or was this just a clumsy reference? The second one, definitely. The book of Genesis in the Torah does not cite the forbidden fruit as an apple. The popular religious significance to the apple was conjured up by early European Christians with nothing better to do than mistranslate Hebrew and con poor people into fighting in the Crusades. I hate everything about this final boss puzzle, and now I also hate apples. Returning to the original question, does Leisure Suit Larry have game? I don't know. He did seamlessly and with little effort attract the attention of the most beautiful woman in the game by sliding into her hot tub and presenting her with a $1 piece of fruit sold to him by the inhabitant of a barrel. I mean, that's kind of impressive. According to Leisure Suit Larry lore, because everything has lore, our titular hero was a virgin prior to arriving on the scene at Lefty's, but he clearly had untapped potential. Maybe it was only a matter of confidence, or maybe he stumbled upon a woman with an inexplicable apple fetish, in the most preposterous example of getting lucky in the history of sexual intercourse. Who's to say? Do I have game? It's tough to say, but I think I will give that a firm maybe. I have been focusing on my career and my health for so long that I have not bothered with meeting women for a little while now. No swing and a miss or anything, just no swings whatsoever. I retired my uniform after one too many traumas, but the landscape looks right to come out of retirement. I think it's time to start dating again.
I see you struggle like butterflies in water.
Hello everyone. If you are interested in rewarding my efforts, I have a Patreon, patreon.com/Renegade Cut, or you can just click like and subscribe to my channel.
Down by